Good evening, everybody. We're going to get going in a couple of minutes. So I'm just waiting for a few more people to arrive. If you actually just jumped on our YouTube live stream, then welcome. I can't see the chat, so you'll just have to watch without talking to me. If you want to talk to me, just use the link that I put in the chat and you can register for the webinar and come into the webinar room, okay? So we'll just get going in a couple of minutes. Thank you for your patience. Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's ACY Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Tonight is a live market analysis webinar, so we'll get to the charts very quickly. If you're on YouTube, I can't see the chat, but you're more than welcome to watch through YouTube or just use the link that I gave in the chat to register for the webinar and come on board so you can talk to me. All right, so let's move along. Just before we move along, if you can read through the disclaimer, and as we're moving along, any questions, just put them in the question and answer box for me. I do have the chat open too, but questions in the question box, so it's helpful. I know what's going on then. All right, so if you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at ACY Securities. I've been a full-time trader now for over 15 years and mentoring clients for more than 10. So I've been very much involved with trading the Forex market for a long time now. If you want to connect with me via email, talk to me about the webinars or the education that we're delivering, just email me at duncan.cooper@acy.com. And you can connect with me at the website, acy.com, the market news tab. You'll find my analysis there. My analysis education videos, you'll find them at the ACY Securities Australia YouTube channel. And you can connect with me personally on Twitter and LinkedIn there. And as well, if you want to get access to our new Telegram service where I'm posting analysis every day based around the webinar series, I'm identifying how I'm looking at trends, support and resistance, identifying the key levels that I'm watching to maybe trade around, posting through the day. Some other colleagues are posting in a similar vein as well, Lenny and Nathan. Now, if you want to get access to that, you can email Nathan, and his email address is nathan.bray@acy.com, and he will help you out. As well, if you want to get access to my chart layouts are different to what you can just download from the website, the acy.com website. See here, I've got instruments, indicators, pivot points here, MACD, session opening times, etc. If you'd like to get access to those, I'm going to give you Nathan's email address in chat. Whether you need help setting that up or you'd like to get it access to the Telegram service, he'll sort all that out for you. So just give him a contact on his email and he'll give you a customized service and answer any questions that you might have at the same time. All right, so that's in the chat for you. All right, so yesterday I did live Forex market analysis based around the tools that I'm teaching in the webinar series. So what I'm going to do is really just move on from yesterday, see what levels are being respected from yesterday that I've drawn in. Has anything changed? Are there new levels to look at? And I just want to click through, see if there's anything immediately going on. And with the Telegram service, I might as well start on the pound crosses, I think, because they're maybe starting to move down. I actually highlighted the levels in the Telegram service today. So in the Telegram service, I'll just get into it. If you haven't seen it before, posting charts and commentary, I'll just talk about the pound dollar. We highlighted an area where the market could fail at today. In fact, two levels. Highlighted the level up here at daily resistance, but we didn't quite get there. And we started to falter at the 79% retracement level and the figure. So then I posted a chart saying, well, we might not get there. And we may be faltering at the 79% level and the figure here at the 130, at the 130,400 level approximate. So I do a chart, a bit of a commentary of what I'm looking at. And really, most of what I'm doing is looking at levels that I think price might be wanting to fail at through the trading day and giving you a heads up of the levels I'm watching, and maybe giving you a heads up that maybe price is there. It might be showing some strength or weakness there. So if you want to consider, that level within your analysis and the strategy that you're trading, then obviously you can do. So pound dollar, what we've seen is, I'll go to a higher time frame in a moment, but 79% of the range that we're currently trading in, and the figure, we've got a trend line break. We actually come back up for a retest here and failed. So the question obviously is now, if you're in that trade and you're managing it, maybe have the trade at break even if you manage to get in at kind of the 134 level. And then the question is this going to move back down from where it came yesterday, back down to last week's low at daily support, 132.73. So I'm going to tidy these little bits off. I don't need those in on my analysis really, but the day charts, I'll get rid of that fib 2. Get rid of my fib rather than my line. All right, so we're in a downtrend. In fact, just going to the weekly chart here, there's a number of lines on here, but hopefully you can see we're in a lower bottom, lower top scenario here. A series of lower tops all the way down through last year. We're in a downtrend. And my long-term weekly support level is down here at 131.68. All right, and then there's another one here that I put in yesterday at 131.32, but I'm targeting 131.68. So on the day charts, the levels that I've got drawn in here, the market has been moving down into a downtrend. This is weekly support that we've been kind of trading below, trading back above 133.57. We are above that level at the moment. So if you did manage to sell this pair early in the day, as price is moving down, you want to see if price is going to hold at 133.57 because that could still be support. But yesterday we traded down to this level of day support and we've had a rally back up. And it looks to me like we're kind of a little bit range bound, but we put in a bit of a lower top just there. We're just having a day up here, maybe putting in a further lower top if we trade down for the day and then trade down tomorrow. So just looks like it's zigzagging, keeping the trend in order. So we might be now failing at 134, moving further down. So my target, if we continue down, is 131.68. But what you have to realize is it has to really get below 133.57. So that's no longer acting as some form of support. And then can price move down the range? So to the 4-hour chart, I was highlighting that maybe price might come up to this area of the range here that's been forming. We've got support here, top of the range here that's been forming. That's where we failed on Monday. So we've moved down Tuesday, Wednesday, back up. Now it looks like we're putting in a lower top here. So if you are short, you need to manage your trade ahead of 133.57. Can we continue down the range? All right. That's what I've been looking at on that pair. Of course, we could still move back up. And if we move back up, I'll be watching 134.30, 134.39 as resistance still for failure. And really, can we trade back down and retest 132.73? Can we break that level to trade down to weekly support at 131.68? That's all in line with the daily and the weekly chart trends. It's just looking for an opportunity to sell higher up, back in line with the trend. All right, let's get back to one pair backwards, the pound yen. This area I highlighted today in our Telegram service, and I'm going to go to the daily chart. And we're a little bit range bound, but the bigger picture thing is this double top here that has obviously held up there, and we've moved down to test the middle low point of that pattern. Of course, that's weekly support there at 152.84, and of course, anybody can see here that we're having a bounce from support. That's why it's so important to have these levels in, so you know where they are. You could have maybe taken profit there, waiting for a bounce maybe to occur because we've been rallying back up. I've got a fib from the last daily lower top to the last lower bottom. We've rallied to the 62% level, coinciding with daily broken support becoming new resistance at 155.30. So I highlighted that in our Telegram service today. That's that area just there. And we did just touch into it. And you can see there on the 4-hour chart now that we're reversing. So whatever your mode of operation is, maybe to get in for a trigger for a trade, you can now start to look at that maybe because that level looks like it's holding as resistance. And we may well now be moving back down to retest 152.84, weekly support. So, on the 15-minute chart, came up to the level. We've had a trend line break through here, moving back below the figure, kind of came back up to retest the figure, and at the moment it's looking like 155 has now been a failure point for the market. So that would have been a great area to look for an opportunity to sell at 155. We're obviously 25 pips down the track at the moment, so you know, one more good candle down and you can probably have your trade at break even. Looking to target at the moment 152.84. Now, if we can target 152.84, what I've been looking at with this double top pattern, just going to take that fib off so I don't have too many fibs on the chart. I've been looking at a double top pattern, drawing a fib from that high to the midpoint low there. So the double top's here to there. It's actually a bit of a triple top, two tops there and a top there, but the height of that pattern I'm projecting below, and the 200 marker comes in at 148.037. So there is a potential that we bounced here. We did break the low, bounced, come back up to resistance. We're going to trade back down to this level. Can that break? If that level breaks clearly, I think we're heading down. We might not get down to the 200 level because ahead of it, we've got monthly support, weekly support. So personally, I'm looking at getting down to weekly support at 149.00 if the current level of weekly support, 152.84, breaks. Now, this might trade down, get to 152.84 and not break. So if it does and holds like it did yesterday, traded all the way back up within the day, this could come back down here again and trade all the way back up, just stay range bound. But longer term pattern is a double top, projecting it down. A very reasonable target would be 149.00 weekly support there. Okay, so I'll just leave that on the 15-minute chart. We might just go back later and just see what price action is doing. Now this could, before I move along, come back up and retest 155.30. Price can do whatever it wants. It never really does exactly what we want. Obviously, if you just sold it, you just want it to trade down the chart, but price doesn't always just do what you want because the market is always right, and sometimes you're right with the market. So 155.30, that could get retested up here through the trading day. If you're not already in the trade, you might see an opportunity to trade down there on a further failure. Okay, I'm going to head to the left, go through the pairs we went through yesterday. Now, for whatever reason, the Aussie crosses are very positive, more positive than anything else in the true movements of price action over the last 2 days. I don't know quite why they would be over anything else. But that being said, that's just the way the market's playing. So looking at the day chart here of the Aussie yen, I was looking yesterday for weekly resistance, which comes from over here. So I'm just going to call out my levels. Weekly resistance 83.97. If you go to your weekly chart, you'll find that level 83.97. I was hoping that level was going to hold for then maybe a reversal down, but it didn't, and it actually popped up to challenge this weekly top here at 84.29. It's actually popped above there today, and it's come up to the 79% retracement level of this range. All right. And as well, that coincides with, if you go left, a level of old day support here. So the trend is up on the day chart here. And the fact that we've broken above this high here kind of puts the weekly trend in an uptrend. The monthly trend is a bit more range bound. So in true trend form, this is in an uptrend, but it is in a good area where you might see a failure point, the 79% level of this move down. All right, so I'm just monitoring this pair at the moment. If I was going to be engaging to take a serious position on this pair to move back downwards, down the range, if the trend wanted to start to look and change, really, for me, this weekly level of resistance at 83.97, I'd need to start to see that price want to get back below there. So at the moment, I think the buyers are maybe in control, unless we completely reject this 79% level. So looking at opportunities at the moment, any pullbacks on the 4-hour chart, we've got the weekly 83.97 level. That was resistance, could become support. We've also got the 84.29 level. That level pulling back to could become support too. So at the moment, as long as 84.29 or 83.97 act as support, it's really in the favor of the buyers to look at those levels to trade up off. If we get a clear reversal from the 79% level in 84.59, so we're on the 4-hour chart here. Let's say we just today break through that level, we break through that level and get back underneath 83.97. So basically the 8400 level. If we get a solid reversal, you're then looking for 8400 level approximately to become resistance on the 4-hour chart. So price clearly sells off aggressively, becomes resistance on the 4-hour chart, then look to trade down. If that occurs, the first level, key level of support is 82.01. That's weekly support from back in time. All right. So that could happen if we get a clear rejection. Short term though, things are in the hands of the buyers. So there's just one question about that 79% level of the range. Is that where price is going to ultimately fail or not? But if the structure of the 4-hour chart holds true, you're looking for opportunity to trade up from support, 84.29, 83.97, okay? That's the short-term picture. Now the thing, why I'm focusing on the 79% level here that it might fail, because I'm going to go to the Aussie dollar now, because these are very highly correlated. Aussie dollar's been moving up too, continuing to move up. Just get rid of that fib. This is my weekly chart, and got a few lines on here, but I'll just discuss the closer ones in proximity to price action at the moment. Is this weekly top here, which is at 73.14. We're trading at 73.04. So we've actually traded through it a few pips today. There is the potential for this to become a double top. All right. It's in its early days. It's always great to get in to the short side if a double top's forming, because you're getting in real close to the top. Because if this is a double top, it's going to at least trade back down to support, long-term support at 69.91. Monthly, weekly supports from, this is actually a weekly low. There's another low back here if you go to your monthly chart, but it's the same price point, 69.91. So if we're getting a true reversal here, it's always good to get in the early stage, hold it for the complete move down to test support. if it's a true double top, it'll break support for the long term. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. That's going to take weeks for that to occur, but my ears are pricked up here. This on radar alert. Is this a double top? Now, over the next day, we might be above here, and then the double top doesn't even come into fruition. But at the moment, the other thing that I'm seeing, take the bigger move from this high to low, is that we've been a few pips. So we've been up to 73.23. I can see that we've got a 62% retracement of that larger range at 73.30. So we've been 7 pips away. So there may still be some upside movement, even if we are topping out to touch 73.30. So just bear that in mind. But what I'd like to see by the end of the day, if this is going to be maybe a double top, is that we get a clear rejection by the end of the day. All right. So let's just move down the time frames. As I say, by the end of the day, we may be above that level, and we're not looking at a double top. So if we do a full-on bullish candle above 73.14, then really you're looking at 73.14 on a lower time frame to become support for a move further up. All right, so that's one thing to think about. The other thing to think about is, are we going to have a reversal here at that top? So on the 4-hour chart, just getting obviously a 4-hour rejection candle at the moment. 4-hour price structure, though, is still in an uptrend. High tops and bottoms through here. So any pullback in that occurred today, because I was looking for a reversal earlier in the day, but what I was wanting to see was that will price action, these lines that I've got drawn in, this top here, 72.84, this line, which comes from this top over here, these are 2 daily tops. We're broken above the resistance tops, so they could act as support. Intraday here, those 2 tops are back to their support to trade back up and test 73.14. So structurally, everything's holding true for a trend up. Old resistance is becoming support. So if we are to see a reversal, what you need to see is that 72.84 and 72.76 doesn't keep acting as support. That now breaks down and becomes resistance. All right. So as you're looking at a critical area where the price might top, you have to look at your support and resistance and price action to see if it's starting to give you a story that it's breaking down. So if we are going to fail here, I'd like to see a very nice rejection candle on the day chart. I'd like to see on the 4-hour chart that price has gotten below these 2 levels of support. And it'd be great if it took those lows out, but if it took those lows out structurally, then on the 4-hour chart, the trend would be down. And then you look for price to rally back up, and these 2 daily levels of what is support at the moment becomes resistance. All right. So that's how to engage on the 4-hour chart. Look at a fall down, a rally. Structurally, it's starting to form a downtrend, becoming resistance at the 72.76, 72.84 daily support levels at the moment. I need them to become resistance once more. All right, now to the 15. Now I'm not engaging in this at the moment, but if you are real aggressive, what you can see is that we have obviously moved above 73.14. This is just to show what price action does at these key levels. We've moved above 73.14. We've fallen back below, had a bounce at 7,300, come up and failed at 73.14. That's more like 73.13. So once it came up for a retest, the sellers were clearly wanting to sell it at or below 73.14, slightly below. So there was a very aggressive entry point there if you wanted to be that kind of a trader, okay? But you don't need to be that kind of a trader to make money, but just to show you how price action works. So you have to obviously work out what kind of trader you are. So we could keep retesting 73.14 through the day. Those 2 levels I was just discussing before, day support levels, 72.84, 72.76. You can see earlier in the day, or late yesterday, we were testing 7,300, came down and got support on day support at 72.76, trade up. So these 2 levels need a breakdown, okay? So if you did sell up here, as you're managing your trade, you want these two levels to break. If these two levels hold and you've sold up there, then you need to take profit because there's a chance this will just come back up to that area. All right, so price action is breaking down a little bit there at the moment, but I'd like to see a clear day chart signal yet that we're getting a reversal, because this could just get support here at 7,300. You know, if you're clear in your mind that this pair's in a full-on bull market, level to be a buyer at today, now that we've clearly moved above 7,300, 7,300 with that pivot could be support for the market now to move up and through 73.14. So there's two sides of the coin in play here at the moment. The buyers and the sellers will be battling it out. At the moment, 4-hour chart trend is up. We're just rejecting 73.14. So sellers are winning on the 15-minute chart, but they're not necessarily winning on the 4-hour chart at the moment. So I'm waiting for the 4-hour chart to turn down. So you've got my levels there. Here again, this structurally still, day chart, we're actually trading below. So the 2 or 3 lines that I'm looking at on this pair. Yesterday, I emphasized, if I go to the monthly chart here, that we're in some form of range. And we may have formed kind of a double top up here, almost a triple top. We had a very nasty monthly inverted hammer at resistance there. But we've got some heavy support in through here, which on my weekly, we've got this weekly low here that we're at, this weekly area of support here, another area of weekly support, which is monthly support, and another level of a monthly top support here. So there's a whole barrier of support that the market is trading into and then bouncing up off at the moment. And so the question is, you know, structurally, this double top kind of affair up here, is that going to come true? Are we going to break this area of support, or is the area of support going to hold? So it's in a difficult area to be trading in if you're not already in a trade from higher up. I mean, if you're in a trade higher up, if you got in up here maybe somewhere, you're just contemplating how to manage your trade. And is this going to break support? It's difficult to be trading into areas of support hoping they break. So the critical levels to watch at the moment are 128.24 weekly support, this area here at 127.92 weekly support, this area here, which we did trade underneath yesterday, monthly support. But obviously the buyers won out through the day. But we haven't taken out the high of yesterday, and we're a bit negative on the day at the moment. So the thing that will ultimately probably win this pair to move down, I'm just going to go forward one chart, is the euro dollar. It's still negative. It's going down on the 15 at the moment. It's holding below its major level of weekly old support at the moment. So if that continues down, it's going to help this pair have another go down here. So for our chart, and I posted this earlier in Telegram, I was looking at this move down on the 4-hour. Then we've had a rally just short of the 62%, 128.83 area. And there was 4-hour resistance there. So we held. And the market's just asking itself at the moment, can I move back below 128.24 weekly support? It's a fraction below 128.21. So if we continue down within the trend at the moment, we may move through these support levels to the 127 extension. That's at 126.62. But just be aware if you are selling down here, you've got weekly support at 127.92, monthly support at 127.37, and monthly support at 127.07. So there's going to be clearly buyers there wanting to fight with you. So I'm just going to move it down to 15. So what I like to do if I'm having to contend with weekly support levels or monthly support levels for price to break through, because I don't like to trade into support, I've got the area of support highlighted here. You know, if I'm wanting to engage for a trade down to retest where we were bottoming out down here yesterday, is I like to see price break below the level of support that could be. And then on the 15-minute chart, that price comes back up to retest and that becomes resistance. And then, you know, intraday, I'm seeing that level wants to be resistance, and then maybe then price will hold there to move down to the next level of support. Will that break through, become resistance on the 15 for then another move down this way? And if you look left, you can see how the lines are operating. Yesterday, it was operating nicely as a resistance this level, the 127.92. See it moved down, held, moved down, held to test monthly support. Resistance back down, moved above, becomes support, moves above the next level, and the next level rejects. That kind of becomes support to move up. It's moved back down. It's still support at the moment. Obviously, we're underneath, but now we want to see the flip. Does the 15-minute price action become, wanting to be resistance like this over here? All right, so those are the levels I'm looking and how I'm looking at price action. Euro dollar, let's just go to the daily. It's moving through some levels that it's been forming over the last few weeks. This is a good level of weekly support where we came back up and created this double, triple top. And the market's been asking itself, can it get below and hold below 111.21? And then last week's low at 1,106, it's been asking itself the same question. Can we move below those two levels? So clearly today we are. So then the question is, well, early in the day, you would start to see that those levels are acting as resistance intraday. Just want to talk about the double top if you weren't with me yesterday. Just drawing a fib across that range for that double top, triple top there. It's more of a double top on the weekly here, double top there. And I'm looking at the 200 level. That's at 107.60. That's the double top long-term target. And yesterday I drew in some levels. We've got weekly support at 110.18 that the market's heading towards at the moment. And this low over here is monthly support. So I'm targeting 108.79 monthly support ahead of the double top price projection. So if I just take that off so we can see the chart a bit clearer. Obviously, just looking at the weekly there, you should be able to see what the trend is. It's down and it's breaking below weekly support at last week's low point as well, which is day support. The next level is at 110.18 weekly support that it's heading towards. We're trading at 110.78, so there's about 68. There's about 60 pips to go to that level. So on the daily, that's the look. You can see we're underneath it. Those two levels of support were kind of rejecting yesterday. We just managed to close below weekly, but not daily. Today we're trading underneath. There's the 4-hour look, but the 15-minute chart is the time frame where today, once we got into the day, the daily level of support became resistance. So you're just holding at the central pivot, wanting then to move down. Now, of course, through the day, we're going to come down and test yesterday's lows here. There's two lows intraday. Price could just come down to this level and come all the way back up. All right, so you always have to manage your trade. But the critical area, I think, you probably missed the opportunity to trade it intraday, was up here. We might not come back to this level. Of course, we can. So if you're looking still to get in, it looks like support's broken. So 111.06 is day support broken. If price moves back up to the 1100 number, so the 1100 number or 111.06, I'll be looking at that area as resistance now for an opportunity to trade down from it, but that may have already occurred. Okay. All right, covered the pound yen. We'll just have a look, see what's going on. Nothing too much is changing there. Pound dollar, we'll just have a quick look at what the 15 is doing. We covered that one. So of course, if you're trading this today and you manage to sell it on the breakthrough 134 there, I think, you've seen almost 30 pips of profit. Is it worth really having a losing trade there if it comes back up? That's what you have to ask yourself. So the critical level on that pound dollar is 33.57. Can that break today? That's weekly support. And then New Zealand yen and New Zealand dollar. I covered these yesterday. These are a little bit buoyant. New Zealand dollar, not too much. New Zealand yen, a little bit more. So to the day chart, and as I was saying yesterday, I actually took a trade at this daily resistance level. So I'm going to go to the weekly just to show you structurally that Lower top, lower bottom. Yes, we're bouncing on some weekly support levels through here. There's 1, 2, there's 3 areas here. Primarily 75, 95 weekly support there that we traded below and then bounced back up. Now, structurally, weekly chart is a lower top, lower bottom coming back up. We were failing at the 78 level for a number of days, so I decided to take a positional trade there. And I've got my stop above the high here. So it would have to break 79.23 for me to be wrong at the moment. So it's going against me about 37 pips. To the daily, that's that daily level I was trading against. Market has got a fraction short of, if you look left, this is a top resistance area here. It's from the weekly chart, 78.64. So a fraction short of that. We can see back in time, well, obviously it was resistance here. When we fell back below it, and whilst we got above it a little bit, we fell back below and it became resistance for this lower top. So clearly we're in an area of resistance. And at the moment we're trading at a 79% level, a little bit similar to what we were looking at on the Aussie yen. So these two pairs are highly correlated, Aussie yen, New Zealand yen. So whichever one you might be focusing on, you know, if both start to turn at the 79 and move back below broken resistance, look for that a broken resistance to become resistance again if it trades back below. So like pretty much on the Aussie yen, I'm already in this trade, so I'm just having to wait and see if price wants to play nicely with me. I traded when price on these 3 days was holding at 77.99. I think I traded about 78.03. Got my stop a little bit above this high point. And I'm looking for price to move down to retest 75.95. Can it start to move down through these other levels of weekly support at 75.22 and 74.55? Because structurally, that's a lower top, lower bottom on the weekly. Is this putting in a lower top here over the next week? All right. So that's how I'm looking at it. But structurally, you could be looking at it as, okay, yes, the weekly trend is down, lower top, lower bottom, but I'm seeing a nice uptrend coming up through here now. Is this uptrend going to maintain itself to push through that top? All right, that is one way of looking at price action. We are in an uptrend here, but what you will find is that on any upward rally against the weekly chart, we had an upward rally up here against the weekly chart trend. When it's putting its top in, the day chart trend is up. All right. So yes, the day chart trend is up here. So yes, it could continue up and through. And if that's your bias and that's the line that you want to trade in, then you need to look at 77.99, pretty much the 7,800 level, to act as support on any pullback for your trade to keep in play to move further up. If it breaks back below 77.99, then that's bad for the buyers. All right, so that's the critical level for the buyers and the sellers on any pullback. Moving back below there is good for the sellers, bad for the buyers. Holding there is bad for the sellers, good for the buyers. All right, so watch 77.99 for support at the moment. Watch 78.64 weekly resistance for resistance on that pair. So we'll just take it down to the 4 hour. Too early to tell if this is reversing at the 79. It's still structurally higher bottom, higher top. There's a minor higher bottom forming here. You know, if we break below that higher bottom there to the downside, so this is maybe forming a double top. It's too early to tell on the 4 hour. If we break that little support low and get back below 77.99, we have a good deep first drop down, you know, something like that, then look for 77.99 to become new resistance. All right. I mean, if you are a buyer, then, or if you're wanting to buy because you're not in it yet, then the 4 hour trend is up. Structurally, any pullback should really hold at 77.99 for then a move up once more to challenge 78.64 weekly resistance. All right. That's how we'll be playing it to the upside. There's no point buying it here so close to resistance because you've got no room to make your profit. So you have to look at where can I get in? So there's ample room to trade up to the next level of resistance that I want to move through. You don't want to be buying it into resistance because that resistance might hold. That might be where the weekly chart puts its top in. And then you just position yourself completely wrong. So you must look at 77.99 for support to be a buy at the moment. You could, if you want to get really aggressive, maybe look to trade down from 78.64 if you really thought the weekly top was going to come in here. All right, New Zealand dollar. So this isn't as bullish intraday at the moment as the New Zealand yen. So I'm going to go to the weekly chart. And we've been having a nice move up last week. Forget this week. Last week we had an interest rate hike and we ride up very sharply to this level of old weekly support, 68.04. Structurally, look, lower bottom, lower top, lower bottom on the weekly. All right. Has it already topped at 68.04? Yesterday, it almost got to about 68. Couldn't retest 68.04. Is it topping out? With the fib, across that range. Yesterday, last week's failure at 68.04 kind of lined up with the 79% level, 68.12. As I say, yesterday we managed to get up to 67.99, so we couldn't quite get to 68. So when we rushed up because of the interest rate hike, we got up to about 68.08. This week we can't get to 68. So the sellers are clearly watching that level. Is it the level where we're going to, are we starting to put in a lower top here on the weekly for the next leg down? All right. So if we move above 68.04, I think that's game off for that idea. But structurally, when you go back to the weekly, that weekly trend is down. The question is, are we putting in a lower top here once more? All right. So for our chart, what I'm looking at personally is I'd like to see structurally that this clearly shows that the 4-hour chart trend is down. And at the moment, it's higher bottom, higher top. All right. So not quite doing it. One of the things I've been looking at, I'm going to get rid of that other fib, so we don't have two fibs on the chart. This move down rejection from last week. What I have been watching is the 79% level, 67.70. At the moment, intraday, if we go to the 15-minute chart, here it is. It's acting as some kind of support. We moved below here today, back above it. Today, we've again we're trading around it at the moment. It's kind of looking like support still. What I'd like to see is that we just trade down through it, and then that area becomes resistance. So we trade down through it today. Might come down to the 62 level today. That'd be awesome. If we did that, we'd actually break yesterday's low. So that would start to be looking more like a reversal. And then tomorrow, doesn't matter if it comes back up to the 79 level, but does that become intraday resistance? Because you can see at the moment, whilst we might be thinking that 68 is failing, 67.70, people are buying it there, propping it up. We want to see 67.70 fail quite clearly, and then that becomes resistance. So at the moment, we're not seeing that. So you just have to be patient. Back to your 4-hour. So if we do, if you want to be really aggressive and you just think it's, is going to form here, the MACD is starting to maybe wanting to cross down. From a positional trading perspective, you could be trading here. You put your stop just above the high. You're trading here. Your stop goes above the high. So perhaps you're risking about, let's just measure the risk. Let's say you're risking 50 pips. You're getting yourself 10 pips above that high. At least you'd be risking 60 pips. If you traded down to the 127 extension or down to day support, there's about 180 pips. So let's say you're risking 60. There's a possible target to the downside of 180. It's a risk reward of 1 to 3. That's good. That's how you need to, set up good risk reward. So, or, so you could do that right now, targeting down there. It's a positional play. You're just waiting for price to break down. And if it breaks down, you're going to be correct. Or are you wanting the market to prove its hand more before you get in? All right. So there's various different ways of trading. I'd like to see 67.70 fail at the moment because it's holding there. So I'm a bit concerned that it might go up and retest 68.04. I'd be much happier if 67.70 broke. So really that's the level that the market's operating at. 67.70 is being support. Is 6800, 6804 going to maintain its resistance nature? Because it could come up to that level, 2 levels to trade around. As a buyer, 67.70, 6804 area to 6800, that's where the sellers are at. So it could have a last sniff up there, fail once more, you could be trading up there to trade down. Okay, so those are the levels that are really operating on that pair at the moment. All right, I just want to go through one more pair, one more instrument. We had a look at gold last night. So I'm just going to give an update to that. But I'm going to go to the dollar index, S&P 500 and gold. I haven't touched on those. Dollar index, I've been saying yesterday that we're testing monthly a resistance at 97.68. We're still testing. Yesterday we rejected. The euro dollar keeps going down. We're probably going to move through because the euro dollar is at least 50% weight of the dollar index. So we just keep testing that level. So that clearly moves through. Pairs to the US dollar are going to move down. All right, so bear that in mind. S&P 500. I drew this in yesterday. This is really the range of last month. I'm just referencing that as a hypothetical candle of last month. And I've got a fib drawn from high to low. And we've retraced back 62% of that candle, fractionally short. And you see how we're putting in a top here. Top here. I think that's like maybe late Monday, early Tuesday. This is yesterday, topping there as well. Are we holding there for a move down? So 4,400-ish level, 4,405. That level holding, price moving down is going to be negative for most currency pairs because we're seeing a risk-off environment in the stock market. So if we move above, that's going to be positive for currency pairs to move up, well, pairs to the US dollar in any event. All right, so monitor that. We're still holding there. And then we did cover gold yesterday. So what I was highlighting was from the monthly chart, this major top up here that we're just above. That tops up 119.20 from memory. Yep. And we're trying to move out of this range that formed in this area. The top of the range was being forming at that 119.20 level. Weekly chart and a weekly high as well at 1916. So 1916, 1920 is the area of resistance that we're trying to move through. And a higher level of resistance that we failed at last week was at 1965. So day chart, it is holding above. Yesterday, it dipped into the area that I was saying to you yesterday that it should act as support if the buyers are going to hold the market to move it up. I said 1920 down to 1960 must hold. So you can see yesterday's candle traded down into the area and we bounced back up. So we'll see that on the 4-hour chart. Let's see how it came in, bounced back up. Now, structurally, it's looking a bit weak. We have a higher bottom to a higher top, a fractional lower top, higher bottom. So the question is that lower top just showing its hand that this wants to start to move back below that monthly critical area of 1920 and the weekly area of 1916. All right, so we do have a bottom there, but if we break below 1913.46, the sellers are back in control on that pair in the short term. All right, buyers must hold it above 1920 or the sellers are back in control. So back to the daily. If we move back below here, we could be coming all the way back down the range here. All right. In fact, weekly chart. We could be at least coming back to 118.77 if we can't keep above 1920, that approximate level. 1977 area there. So back to your day chart. So you can see that when we had this big rejection candle from up here at weekly resistance, we got support and that top line of support that I just drew in. So that's critical support for the market at the moment. You know, if we move down and the buyers have any chance over the next few weeks to hold the uptrend, you know, maybe this is just way too high at the moment and it has to have a pullback, then 1877 should hold to keep this moving up over the next month long term. In the short term, it must hold above 1920.16 area. Okay, so that's my analysis there on gold. Okay, everybody, any questions? Anything you'd like me to recover? I just want to click through, see what's going on. Start from the left. So we are holding at that 79% level. So let's put it to the day chart so we can see the level clearly. Daily resistance 84.59, 79% retracement level 84.64. We are holding there, but for me to get positive about moving to the downside, I'd like to get it back below 8400. So because 8400 could become support on one day's pullback. All right, Aussie dollar. Looking for that rejection candle at 73.14 by the end of the day. Maggie, you want me to look at the dollar yen? Yeah, I'll have a look at that for you. So dollar yen, I'll just go to the weekly chart for you. It is a bit mixed here. I've been seeing MACD negative divergence forming here on the indicator. MACD's actually crossed downwards. Structurally, we've been having up to a higher top, to a higher bottom. Then we've actually put in a double top here. And the top to the right is fractionally lower. And then over the last, so we obviously rejected that area. And then we've been moving down. And obviously this week at the moment, we're a bit buoyant. This 1472 level is from the monthly chart. It's an old monthly top that we've broken above. So if you go to your monthly chart, you'll see it there. At the moment, it's acting as some form of support in the short term, 114.72. And then I've got a weekly top there as possible resistance at 115.51. And to my day chart, I've got a couple of levels drawn in. So that's my weekly level, 115.51. We've been above and below that level a number of times. I've got a daily level here at 115.68, which we're challenging today. And obviously we're challenging the next little top above here. So we've been getting support from the monthly old resistance high back in time at 114.72. Go to your monthly chart. On a plain chart, you'll see that quite clearly. But the question is that we've put in a double top. And the top, when we came up to challenge 116.35, we held. And a little bit above there, there's a monthly level of resistance too at 116.46. So we could come back up and challenge that area. So things to note are 116.35 up to 116.46 is weekly come monthly resistance. So another trade up to that level, the sellers could just once more take control. Obviously, they took control there twice since late December. We've been moving down, getting some form of support at 114.72, and then we're coming back up. And it's just range bound here. The question is it moving up a bit above, you know, the area I've been watching as resistance is 115.68. That's this area here back on the 28th of Jan. So it held here, we moved above, back below on the 4 hour, held. Now, obviously we held here, but we traded above. Trading above, but we're putting wicks on all the candles. And we've only managed to have, since we've moved back below that level of 15.68, there's only been, as far as I can tell, in terms of a real good close, one trading day, that day there. And then we had railroad tracks. The day after that, we came back up again and rejected. So at the moment, it's looking buoyant, but we are obviously in the middle of the day. You have to ask yourself, come the end of the day, are we above or below 115.68? As well, look left, we've got a top here on the 4 hour. That's at 1575, 1578, 1587. So at the moment, you would say all that area there is a resistance zone. If you can clearly identify where the market's been creating resistance or support, in this example, we're moving up into a resistance zone, you have to ask yourself, where would you want to buy on this chart? I don't know if I want to necessarily sell here yet because it hasn't proved its hand, but down here, buying on support or on a reversal back up from support, which should be where you're buying. Up here should be where you're potentially looking for a sell to take your profits. Or, of course, this could break through, and then up here, you're looking to take your profit. At the moment, if you're not in a trade, the obvious question would be, early this week, we were here. Start of the week, we traded down. We've traded back up. We could just trade back down through the course of the week from the same level. So just make sure you're starting to understand that this is a resistance area. If we close above today on the daily, then maybe 115.68 becomes intraday support. So let's say we close up here, we might come back down. That level becomes support on the 4 hour chart for a move that way. All right. At the moment, except for this one candle, I just want to double check what Monday's date was, the 1st. All right, we actually felt this was Friday. Failed up here Friday, moving down into Monday, Tuesday, back up here Tuesday, Wednesday. All right, so late last week we failed at that level, and then midweek back up to the same level. So I would look at your day chart first. Do we close above 115.68? If we do, it might be moving up to test 116.35. Just monitor that area. Really, you're trading into resistance. Does it fail? Does 115.68 become new support on the 4 hour chart? It hasn't been support on the 4 hour chart since we broke below there, back on. In fact, it hasn't been support on the 4 hour chart ever, really, because it broke above, went up to monthly resistance or weekly resistance, and then came straight back below and fell below it. All right, so we haven't seen that level act as a true level of support. We've moved above it and then fallen back below it, because any revisit since then, you can see it's been holding there. So the question is, what's going to happen here through the course of the day, okay? All right, my G, hopefully that gave you a good analysis of what that pair is doing at the moment. Very range bound underneath where we've been creating maybe a double top on the monthly, weekly, or certainly on the weekly chart anyway. All right, hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, now, thank you. If you're on YouTube, hopefully you've been following along with the analysis, and that's been helpful for you. I can't see the chat, so I couldn't answer any of the questions that might be getting asked. But just to give everybody a heads up what's coming up, I'll just refresh this. This is the webinar page where you can come and register. So coming up, this is today still because we haven't quite got past the top of the hour. Next week, we're just going to do some market analysis Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. I think it's a good time in the market at the moment to do live analysis using the tools I've been teaching in the webinar, because the market is very volatile. So it's good to see how those tools work in a very volatile market. As I said to you before, I said this yesterday, in a very volatile market, you don't have to trade if you're new, because We are very volatile at the moment. The levels that you might be anticipating are going to hold, might hold for half a day, and then the price just blows through because of whatever's coming out from the Ukraine-Russia war news. So it is very difficult to trade when you're dealing with news that you can't really have any control about coming out. That can definitely affect the market. So it's a good time to be analyzing the market, seeing what levels are holding or not. Of course, I've showed you that some pairs are at critical levels of resistance. Are they changing trend or are they going to hold? So next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Sydney time, Wednesday and Thursday, live market analysis. And then the week after, starting 15th on Tuesday, 15th of March, we're going to get into the education series once more, understanding a candlestick chart and identifying candlestick patterns. That's what's coming up. All right, everybody, thanks very much for attending this evening. Hopefully you got value from that and you've got some levels that you can look at in your own trading strategies that you're trading and help you along your trading journey. Okay, so thanks very much for attending. Stay safe and I look forward to seeing you next time.